And as always, I hope you're having a marvelous day. Have I got a treat for you? I'm here with my friend Fausto. What is up, buddy?
Hey, bud.
And also new to the channel, Sketch Car Fanatics. I'm just kidding. The one and only Matt Fuller, OCD Sketch Card. How's it going, guys?
Great.
It's going good, man. I'm ready to talk about some of the good stuff, the juicy stuff.
Yeah, look.
I've got some nice iced tea to sip here.
Oh man, love that. You gotta have your pinky out for this one.
That's exactly.
Yeah,
that's what
if
it
you
is,
saw
baby.
the thumbnail, we are going to be talking Marvel card gossip, and if you're flesh tingled and you're like, oh, I want to hear all the gossip about other collectors, you're gonna have to fast forward to about the 7.5 minute mark. That's where we're gonna drop that gossip. Up until then, we're gonna gossip about Marvel cards.
Oof.
Right?
Marvel cards, baby.
I'm telling you, it's interesting. I got a text message today, and I kind of want to read it to you because it's from like someone who's on the fringe of the hobby, like not like a collector. And
like they wear tinfoil kind of fringe, or
well, no, like just loosely connected to the hobby, right? And they say, I hear Upper Deck may lose their Marvel license, or is that just silly rumors?
well,
And so these rumors, which we're calling gossips tonight, like they're on everybody's lips right now.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's so funny you said that because I actually got a text from my buddy, basically my brother, who I just
You have
grew
a
up
sibling?
like. But he is. I grew up next
You
door
have a
to
sister,
two.
I know, right?
I have a sister. I grew up next door to two guys. One's 2 years older than me. One's 2 years younger than me. And we were neighborhood kids, and us three were really good friends. And one of them hit me up, and he'll be around. I'm gonna have him in a video. And he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna buy a Marvel case. What product do I hit up?" And we grew like he was the first person I ever traded Marvel cards with. Like this was the guy who me and him played Marvel cards. Like it was crazy. And he's coming. So there is a lot of things bubbling and happening right now for a lot of people, and it's happening. And that's not even me telling him. Like this is just something he's just ready to go now. And it's kind of interesting with that news and hearing people be excited to kind of think about, okay, what are all the things that have been happening that are leading us to this very video and then kind of the gossip.
Right.
I think that one of the major signs is rushed product. I don't think I've ever seen anything as crazy as this.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys have been around for a while, kind of, having your ear to the ground to the hobby, right? Fausto, you've had the largest Marvel card podcast that you were a part of for many, many, many years. And Matt, you helped run one of the largest Facebook groups, if not the largest Facebook group for a long time for Marvel trading cards. So you're used to rumors, but does this kind of season that we're in and the activity around it feel different?
It definitely does.
yeah. It feels the rumors are a little more supported by empirical evidence. Let's just put it that way, or maybe more circumstantial evidence, I should say, than empirical. But
Yeah. So Matt, I like to think about life like I'm reading a novel, like I'm in the middle of a story, right? And there's context clues, there's foreshadowing, and it's like, wait a minute, maybe this is going to happen in the next chapter. Like there's just this, it feels plausible, and it feels more and more plausible. So why don't we start with what we know?
Yes.
And then we'll get into the other stuff. So what we know is that historically, going back to roughly 2013, Upper Deck has had an exclusive license to make trading cards in the US as we know it. Okay. And there's been international license like Panini. There have been sticker license, right? And there's been digital trading card license like Topps has had. We know that a company called Fanatics, which has become a behemoth in a lot of ways, has moved into the collectible space. They've been playing chess while other people have been playing checkers, and they have managed to not only acquire player rights, but also trading card companies. And they're making a huge push but they're in the space, like they're
Yeah,
dominant, right? Like
done.
it's a push to us in the Marvel car space, but it's over with. It's done in primarily the sports car space, and we know that um, Hasbro, which owns Wizards of the Coast, has announced that they're doing Marvel trading cards for their major TCG, which is Magic the Gathering. And we're going to get Magic the Gathering Marvel cards in 2025. And it appears like there's going to be maybe like 5 releases of that. Like it's going to happen in stages. It's a big thing.
It's a big thing. And I think that, like you said, is a big sign, right? That's the
Mhm.
context clues. The fact that it's 2025 really
Mhm.
lines up with a lot of things we've always heard on the ground floor in terms of when Upper Deck either loses the Marvel license or
Yeah.
loses exclusivity. And that's,
Exclusivity, I think, is a big word.
I think that's a big word. And I think that's more along the lines of what might happen. And I don't want this to become a prediction video. This is more of like, what are we hearing? What's the
Yeah.
landscape?
There's
What is some interesting things that are happening here?
And there's a couple of more things. So recently, we saw that Upper Deck and Detective Comics, DC,
Yeah.
they were flirting on EPAC with doing these comic book releases. We've seen that for a while. And then all of a sudden, we get this announcement that not only they're doing DC trading cards, they're taking the major brands that have been pretty synonymous with Marvel cards, and they're just literally repurposing them to DC. And the thing that was really telling to me, because we're going to get DC Metal, right? We're going to get
Yep.
DC or Fleer Ultra DC, probably Fleer Ultra Batman, right? But when I saw Marvel Masterpieces DC, that was a big sign for me. And here's why: Skybox already has something called Master Series, which is the equivalent of DC's Marvel Masterpieces. And to not use that name and to go ahead and completely overlay the what we call Marvel Masterpieces, that's a big sign for me of like, okay, this feels really intrusive
I think
into
so
the
too.
space.
I think so too. And I hope it was just a misstep. I hope it wasn't something
Mhm.
that's being done purposely or calculated in a
Mhm.
way. Because Master Series has a great history in DC
Sure.
already. And people that know and have seen those cards are absolutely obsessed with it. I mean, I have some in my collection. Like
There's some good
you,
ones. I mean, they're original art, DC.
they're
I mean,
so
they're all black and gothic, but I mean, they're great.
they're great. They're great. I mean, I remember working at CGC for the first time, and they were like, "Hey, send us cards," and they hadn't announced DC yet, and I was like, "Well, let's get some DC ones in for promotional stuff," and I sent them in Master Series because I was like, "These are the ones that are going to look great in the label." And I think it's always been a very beloved thing by collectors, but them doing DC and like you're saying, kind of like mirroring the Marvel model, as you
Mhm.
say, to now adapt DC. We thought a lot of us were like, "Oh, this is the replacement," and I feel like it's solidifying into that. It's like, okay, we ran out to get DC because
Mhm.
something's happening with Marvel, and I think they are either concerned or trying to understand how to have something that's disappearing replace it. It
Mhm.
feels like that. And that seems to be how the writing was. And like you're saying, the idea of putting those models directly on top of that,
Yeah.
not like a next to, not a companion, it feels like a replacement scenario rather than
It has
got
that
it.
feel.
Yeah, it feels
Matt,
that way.
you mentioned like the rate of which products are coming out. And I mentioned this to Fausto. Matt, I'll throw this out to you, and then I'd love you just take the conversation and run with it. But today, Card Shop's got invoice for Marvel Masterpieces XL for August the 7th as the release date.
Yeah.
Beginnings was supposed to come out last week. It got delayed. It's coming out this Wednesday. So we're talking about products, physical, big brand products being released week after week after week in a short period of time. But anyways, Matt, what do you think?
Well, this whole rumor really, I think, puts Masterpieces XL into context now, right? Because we're like, well, why would they do such a weird thing? They've got all these other brands in there. Why would they rehash this
Mhm.
old set? because it's a pure profit play, and they can squeak it in quickly under the deadline. There's no production set up. They literally just have to print them on bigger cards. So I think XL is a bullet point on the case for them losing the license, quite frankly, now that we've heard all this.
Right.
Beautiful.
So
I think you're 100% right. And we were always concerned about it. And it would be interesting to see in the future if they can always access those reprint abilities.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something they're able to do. So do we see an XL 2018? Do we see an XL 2020? Do they hold those back? You know what I mean? Or is this really is the last ditch effort to be like, all right, run it. And it feels like all the rush product feels like, here's the other thing that's crazy, and I won't deviate too hard. We still haven't seen masterpieces on EPAC.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts about that if you want me to just
obviously
right here.
Yes, vomit, go.
It feels to me like they went back to print and possibly said, how can we restructure this on EPAC that it lasts a lot longer? Now, this is just me. This is tinfoil hat time. Like,
always,
otherwise, why delay it? Because historically, and this is coming directly from the people kind of behind the scenes, historically, when you're getting physical product, ComC is getting physical product at the same time for EPAC. They get it in a different packaging. They get all the base cards of all the characters in one, one individual character all at once, all the inserts all together. Like they're really organized in these bricks, right? Literally on pallets. And so if ComC got masterpieces in August of last year, why is it not out yet? Why the delay? Which doesn't, we just got Platinum, but Platinum's a much larger print run as far as we know it. We got it back to back almost in 2 months. And so it's like, what's the delay there? Could it be that they're wanting it to be able to live on EPAC longer is my question.
I wish, obviously, if we could see the license agreement and see what the terms are post expiration, that would be fascinating. But yeah, if the product's already released and that met the requirements of the contract, you're right, then doing just the EPAC piece might be allowable under the contract, and they could squeak out Marvel releases for a year or two. That's a good point.
Yeah,
and this is why
people coming back to EPAC for a long time.
And this is why we broke into the facility and we have the documents here. Share the screen, Justin.
It is coming up. Hold on.
Oh, we forgot the 7.5 minute mark. Right?
We forgot to talk trash about one person. Who's the victim?
Your mama. No,
there you go. Damn. She'll get on the stream.
I know she watches the Spidey.
She watches. She actually does watch. She's like, Matt, they're so nice. And I was like, yes, mother.
All right. So I have another question for Matt. And Fausto, please speak to this. But Matt, you're deep in the kind of hobby sketch car collectors. Have always known what sets are coming out next before anybody else. Here's why. And I know you know why, Matt. I'm doing this for the general audience. Because you have these strong working commission relationships with artists. They know and trust you. And I'm painting a broad brush. And I'm using you, Matt, as an example. Yep. They know and trust you. And so they're willing to do commissions for you early when they have the cards physically, which at times has been years in advance.
Yep.
And they're even sometimes willing to send you those cards early and blah, blah, blah. But my point is you have like this kind of running list of what's coming out next. And so I'm curious, for those type of sketch card collectors in the know, do you see anything beyond what we already know coming out?
I haven't seen any new ones. No.
Yeah, we got
Matriarchs, Women of Marvel, the couple
Spidey
Avengers.
renditions.
Yeah, renditions. Yep.
These are things we've been talking about for 2 years on the channel.
Yeah,
for 2
exactly.
years. Yeah, these are not secrets. Yeah.
I don't think I have heard.
We got a couple of Allegiance, but we've known about those.
Yep. The what I've heard of recently actually is DC Annual. That's the newest thing that people have been showing me.
I have been seeing DC. So I'm not trying to force something that's not true. So please. But I'm not hearing, me doing the Marvel Card News.
Yeah.
Haven't had it.
Yeah. I have heard nothing about. I've heard about sketch cards for XL, but I have heard nothing about another masterpieces set.
But we
So
heard about those last year. I was telling Fausto those have been done, and then got the news that it's being released because I'm using me as we like was trying to figure out if that's going to be a part of EPAC or Santos' release, but it obviously it's not.
Yeah, if there's a physical release of 5x7 Marvel cards in packs, I'm
Yeah.
not even sure how that's going to. That seems like such a.
With
'cause I
sketches,
remember-
by the way, there will be sketches on them. So
Yeah, see, and it's so weird because I remember someone asking me, it was a long time ago. Someone was like, "Do you think it's going to be physical?" And I was like, "No, it has to be EPAC exclusive only because like to make boxes and packs to accommodate 5x7 cards."
I'm having
seems
to go
kind of-
wide angle on the camera.
it's designing a whole new pack.
I got one of the sketch card blanks. It's right here.
Oh, straight facts.
Perfect. It seemed like a strange decision to like invent new
that's
packaging and new packs. Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know. It's cool to see. But you know what, Justin? You might be getting your news from another company now. I mean, that might be the real sideways.
Hey, let's do this as a transition, and then Fausto, I'm gonna just hand it over to you. So, what we've talked about up to this point is basically just the context clues that we know as facts, right?
Yep.
And how they could possibly point to that Upper Deck may not have it at minimum at least exclusive rights to Marvel trading cards, if not the rights at all. So what are you hearing? We're moving into the rumor mill. So you can't take anything we say as facts. Don't run with it. Don't buy stock with it. Don't burn your collection with it. Like, this is just chatter.
Just noise.
Noise.
Well, I mean, there was a podcast recently that we're all familiar with from a non-Marvel source who kind of sort of almost didn't even say it as a rumor, almost sort of said it as fact, if I heard it correctly, right? It wasn't this is happening, but it was as close to that as you can get without saying that.
So what did they say, or how would you paraphrase it?
I mean, if we take that as the rumor is that Fanatics is getting some Marvel rights, whether that's exclusive or part, we don't know.
Which is believable because Wizard of the Coast already has it. And by the way, Upper Deck mates Versus, so it's the same type of card. So it's a shared license.
I will say, be sure to get your first edition Versus cards.
Hey, me and Brian are at Dallas Card Show, and he picked up a first edition box for $60 of Versus.
That's cool. That's right. I thought I saw that recently. I just remembered. Yeah. It's cool, man. They're cool cards. I mean, there's still a lot of history with TCG happening with Marvel, but the fact that that's happening,
baby. Jen's gonna be right when it's all said and done.
When it's all overpower. Oh my God. Could you imagine if it all comes back to overpower?
I love Jen, just mess around.
That'd be great. That'd be really fun. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's interesting to see. I think it's interesting to see a TCG element in the Marvel landscape. That's going to be very fun. And I think it's really interesting to see that it's 2025. And if Magic the Gathering has the TCG side, Fanatics got to go the collector's route. And we all seen Topps collect the digital. We've seen digital Marvel cards done by Topps. And we've seen them do different foilings, different ideas, and similar things there. It's very interesting if Fanatics ends up doing Marvel. And just so everybody knows, they wouldn't be able to do masterpieces. So just in case there's any confusion, masterpieces, Fleer Ultra, all those kind of brand names for Marvel that we're so used to and that's entrenched in history, those are exclusive to Fleer Skybox. So these are the cards that they're putting out there on the Topps Collect site. They're very cool cards.
Yeah, I'm just showing this.
They're not art. Yeah.
I'm trying to get it where it shows up there, but it's a little bright.
Yeah. The set names are brands owned by Upper Deck.
Right. So don't think that they're going to like continue a line, which is what's kind of sad, but also interesting about this. is that Upper Deck might not lose the rights. They might keep they might just lose exclusivity. And then what you're looking at is you're looking at a slower pace by Upper Deck for a few reasons why I would imagine they would do that. And then Fanatics would have different sets that would kind of mimic. And
well, and the market's going to play a big role on how much is produced. If two companies try to pump it out there and the market doesn't respond, they have to react. Like, just, I'm not so much worried about that part, to be honest with you. There might be a season of it, but not forever.
And I think, hopefully, if Fanatics does, let's say it's them and they get the brand, hopefully they're going to take the right amount of time to fill their pipeline and not just start rushing things out.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I'm hoping that's the case, because it is going to take a while for them to get their bearings. They did it with Star Wars. And if you're looking at what happened with the transition of Topps being sold to Fanatics and Fanatics now owning Topps and putting out Star Wars cards, you can see what they've done with Star Wars to get an idea with what might happen to Marvel.
Also, can you pan around and show your conspiracy theory board with all the strings that connect?
Yeah, it's right here. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Funny. I'm not going to show you my.
I was just watching your brain, Star Wars, Fanatics, like you're just like connecting all the dots.
Real man, you don't know. But
yeah. I mean, whether or not Topps would do a great, and I'm using Topps and Fanatics are synonymous, guys.
Yes.
Whether or not a Topps branded Marvel card would be well received, if it would have perceived value built into the boxes, whether it'd be an enjoyable break, I don't know. What I can look at is whoever's doing the art selection for the digital cards doing a good job.
I do like good. I do think they look good.
Yeah. And it's art that not all of it, but a lot of what I've seen is not what we are seeing on our cards. It's a different style art. Our friend Neo here, we're gonna come back and get to the chats, but I do want to see here. Neo says, get ready for a lot of shiny products like Platinum.
Yeah.
However you feel about it, Platinum hit.
It hit well.
A friend of mine reminded me today, people were canceling their pre-orders. Remember that on Platinum?
Yeah, I do.
Probably out of regret now, right? You're going to tell that story. Man, it was a time I had Platinum pre-ordered for $150 a box. And I canceled it. Why? Parallels. Now I want them all.
I think a lot of people were canceling because, they kind of felt overwhelmed, and it is an overwhelming thing. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that without taking away the power of the set. The set is what it is, right? How you choose to collect it is what really matters. And that is nothing. No one can ever take that from you. FOMO and all that stuff can pressure you to do certain things, but how you choose to collect a set can reinvigorate, can change the whole perspective you have on a set. I know it has for me in the past. You know what I mean? I just did a video earlier where I talked about how I did my 9-page for the set for my character collection. And it really helped me. It helped me it really changed my perspective on my card collecting abilities, because it allowed me to still be in the hobby without being stressed about stuff. It's a good thing. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. And I'm just excited to see Marvel cards be talked about more. I want to see now for sale posters come back from the 90s. Right. I want to see binders, checklists. Get me a Fanatics sweatshirt that says Marvel cards. I'm in it. We already have Marvel cards, baby. I just want Marvel cards from Fanatics then. Just like more apparel, more comic books, whatever. I want it all. You know what I mean? I want that level of involvement with Marvel cards, because it's not there now, and I want it. It should be there. It's really cool, and it should be there.
Is there that level in Star Wars? Have they moved anything beyond the cards with Star Wars? So is there any precedence for it in Marvel if they get it?
I think what's happened. Okay, so a little backstory for me to be able to explain this with some ethos. For Star Wars cards,
which by the way are owned by Fanatics and Topps, or by Topps, parent company Fanatics.
So before I started collecting Star Wars, like I have my Mando collection now, I've always collected Boba Fett. I've had his cards, statues, stuff like that. Matt knows I had sketches, all this kind of stuff back in the day. I had my Star Wars the fix. But when they said a good bounty hunter was coming out, a good guy bounty hunter, I was like, oh shit. And then I saw Mando, and I was like, oh, this guy's for me. Yes, he's silver. I see
Surfer
the
and
parallel. Okay,
yes, we know. We know.
I
Don't
see the
even try to
parallel.
deny you
Okay,
got a type.
it's that. I'm just that guy.
It's
Um,
Surfer, it's Mando, and the Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz. We
that's
got
it. Oh, don't even get me started on Wizard of Oz. I can't wait for that license. I'm gonna be so.
it.
Um, but I went for Mandalorian, and I knew how to collect cards because I've been doing Surfer for so long, and I went at the big cards for Mando. I put a budget together, and I made a small treasure chest collection, right? A collection that I can always come back to and enjoy of like 10 or
Oh,
15 cards.
amazing collection.
I'm very, very honored to have that collection. And in that process, I met all of us in the parallel world of Star Wars.
Right.
Greg,
The version of
Arnie,
us in that space.
Brian, all these cats. I met them all over there, and they're brilliant. They're lovely people. I really, really like them a lot. A lot of nice, good-hearted people like us, just nice people. And it was before Fanatics took over, and it was interesting to see the transition and how things moved. Right. Um, and it moved interesting in the sense that when Fanatics took over Star Wars, they really honed in on what sports cards do, which is a lot of parallels, a lot of interesting things. Super refractors came into Star Wars. A lot of people went crazy on that stuff and got really excited. And it's really exciting to have that stuff. And it's similar to what's happening with Platinum now. You know what I mean? Platinum for Marvel
Golden
is kind of right. It's kind of, and Golden Treasures and Super Refractors share the same pattern, which I always find interesting, even though they're across two different companies. But
Right.
they exist now, and they're brands that people are very aware of, and they're exciting brands and exciting patterns and types of foiling. And that's what Fanatics brought to the table when they took over Star Wars. So in terms of getting to what's the parallel here is that as they handle this stuff, I don't know if they're going to have more access to like different Marvel libraries. You know what I mean? Like, are we going to see different images? Because we're seeing different images in the Tops Collect.
Or to hear Grant Sandground, the guy who runs Upper Deck, basically, he says they have access to the entire Marvel library.
Then there should be no repeats. I don't
I
know why
know,
that.
but he literally responds to that question with that answer, but
Mhm.
then we get the repeats.
There should be no repeats. And I think it's kind of it's a big deal that we have another, if they don't lose the rights completely and it is just exclusivity,
Mhm.
then we're going to get two companies making each other better through competition. And I don't think anyone's just going to collect Tops and not collect Upper Deck or vice versa. Like, pass me around.
I'm
Anyone
seeing this
puts out a
comics right
Surfer
now
on
where PSA just come out to grading comics, and the first response I'm hearing from the community is, "How much is it going to cost?" And
Yep.
competition is a good thing.
Yeah.
Is it going to work? Are people going to take that? We don't know that answer yet, but what it can create is positive.
I think anytime you have more people taking an interest
Mhm.
in collectibles that people love, it's scary, it's daunting, but then again, it also becomes thrilling, and you get new vantage points, new viewpoints, and new ways of doing things. And that fosters a bigger audience, better community, a more informed community. And I
Right.
think the same thing here is on the verge of happening. I'm going to be so fascinated to see how Magic the Gathering handles Marvel cards.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to see how they do it, how they arrange the game, how they do the foiling, like have a Magic card. Because I only collect Marvel hardcore. Like I have Pokemon and Star Wars, but Marvel's, since I was a kid, Marvel was my first go-to.
Right.
But I get to now have like a little Magic the Gathering collection if Surfer's in it, which he better. But I'm excited for that possibility. So that would
Yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's may you live in interesting times, right?
We do.
I think it's about to get more interesting. We had the Keith cards happen. That was
Yeah.
fascinating. That was a pretty crazy thing. I did not see that happening whatsoever. I don't even know how they. I guess because it came with a specific
Well,
bigger
Kith has built his company is collaborative efforts with brands where they take 2
fascinating.
and 3 brands and put them together. So you get a Nike Marvel hoodie, right? Or you get an Upper Deck card graded by PSA and an A6 shoe with a Keith brand on it. Like, it's really brilliant what
Yeah.
they've been able to do, and they're doing it again. We're now getting comic books graded by PSA with Kith logos on them. Your Surfer's in there as one of the rare books.
I'm going to support those a lot.
Yeah, but what that does mean is it means that we continue to see pop culture move into the mainstream. And whether Upper Deck likes it or not, they have not moved Marvel cards into the mainstream as well. And I could see where if I'm the parent company, Disney, where I'm going, hey, who's really good at moving stuff into the mainstream right now? And it's Fanatics. It just is. And so I could see where I might think, okay, we might get a better return on our license here at another company. And look, obviously, I've been excited about the product I've opened for Upper Deck for 3 years. This is not me, dumping on the company. I'm just saying if I was the owner of the license, I might be thinking that.
I like to see a Lorcana Marvel crossover. I like to see Disney parks have like their own Marvel cards as a promo thing at the beginning of the rides at Marvel. Like I want to see all of it. Like I'm excited to see how people share the license, different vantage points, and I'm excited to have fun with it.
Imagine if you took like the Pokemon Go concept, but did it with actual physical cards and kind of distribute them throughout the country, and you had to like go hunt them down.
Nintendo announced that they are having an e-pack version for Pokemon cards. This is happening. This is a reality. They announced it on their Nintendo Direct.
Wow.
I like Nintendo stuff a lot. And they're doing it. It's happening where you can buy packs through the app, rip them, trade them, buy them, ship them back home, all that kind of stuff, or just build up a digital library, which might be the focus of what they're doing. It's very similar to their current online TCG model with those slight differences. So it's in the ether. It's happening. It's coming. And maybe we see Topps collect.
Yeah.
Fanatics collect, kind of do that a little bit too. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they merge all the different avenues they can take.
I mean, there's so many different things to do. I mean, because we saw the article at the end of last year, the largest buyer of toys now are adults, not kids, right? You could be putting McFarlane's been putting trading cards in his Batman toys from the beginning because he's brilliant. He knows to give that extra little bit of collectible, right? You can see that. What if they were just saying, hey, anytime we're doing, not anytime, but when we're doing a variant comic, why don't we drop a card in the variant comic? So now you get the variant, you get a card that goes with it, and it just dropped in the book.
Trinity Comics has been doing this. It is a very smart move. It is not. It's extremely smart.
Yeah,
it really is. And I think the more people that start incorporating cards with things. I mean, remember at New York Comic Con, we were all there. They came out with the pins. Marvel directly had homages to these pins.
Yay.
Like, how sick! They're great. They're amazing. They're love letters to the cards. Like, that should be everywhere, man. That should be a thing. Like, it shouldn't be this hard to go into a card shop and find Marvel cards. Like, that is so frustrating to have it. Like, we're seeing retail boxes in retail stores, but they're gone fast. Like, you know what I mean? The exposure needs to be there. And with two companies doing it or a new company doing it, I'm interested to see how they do it. Them, something changes. I hope something changes for the better with that.
Well, I got two more bits of rumors. Okay. So the first one is there's a person that I know that is kind of deep in the hobby, but not in the ways that we are. Different way. And I get a call saying, hey, look, I'm meeting with Fanatics about Marvel. I haven't heard anything from that or beyond that. I don't know what has come from that conversation after that. And the other is, and I'm not going to say this person's name out of respect to them because I do really adore this person, but I'm in a break and I'm watching, and the person basically, I think has a slip and says, basically like, what do you guys think about Topps getting the Marvel license? And then I tried to dig in, and it was like, oh no, I said too much. And just because social media, I know that this person was previous, like weeks leading up to that break, was in rooms where if anybody was going to hear it, like that'd be one of the places they hear it. And so again, like that's pure gossip, it's rumors, but like it's like, okay, it feels like it's already a done thing in a lot of ways.
This feels like one of the worst kept secrets in the hobby, kind of thing, you know?
Right.
Yeah. We're doing this video out of a common courtesy kind of thing to everyone. But this is someone's gonna tune in and be like, and we're gonna be like, yeah, but you know, it's no one's had really people have had variations of this conversation, but all three of us were talking, and all three of us are at this stage where we're like, this just has to be something real at this point. Whatever it turns out to be, it has to be close to.
We've all heard it from different sources, right? And eventually, right? Eventually, if enough people say it, like, come
on. Fausto, you want to get to the comments, or you want me to pull them up?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's see. So we had a couple different people talking in here. We have our buddy Neo, who's always watching. Ash,
just start from the beginning. This will take a while. There's a lot.
I'm just gonna go through them a little bit. I can't click on them, but I will say hi to every VP, writer, Mighty, TJ. Hey everybody, it's so good to see you. Talking gossip. Everyone's really excited.
I'm getting text from one of our buddies.
I have someone saying, "What do you think about NFT creep and crypto for Marvel in the future?" I think they tried NFTs with Marvel. I think they tried a few things with those products. If they are integrating Fanatics or whoever takes the license, I can see them growing. But right now, there is very much kind of like quieting down on NFTs.
Well, you had the NBA tops or top moments or whatever. I don't know what it was called. That tanked, right? So I think that would be like one of the last things we see.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be in the forefront. Doesn't seem like they're rushing. This is from the Card Collector Show, which is cool. Doesn't seem like they're rushing all the sets out way too fast. Didn't even finish Flair or Wolverine yet. You think they're just doing this to put out DC cards in a rush? I don't think so. I don't think maybe the trick is that they're going to start to see when they're out of Marvel. Maybe that's when that happens. Also, there is something else that people have been saying that I disagree with, which is the rumor that, do we even think Masterpieces is coming out, or do you think some sets are just not even going to be released on ePack? I'm going to tell you right now, the amount of product being held for ePack, that would be impossible with the amount of money they would be losing not to eventually release it on ePack. I know things have been taking longer. Yeah. The fact that they put Platinum first before Masterpieces really just tells you,
Well, and they already have a copyright date of 2022, so they're safe.
They're safe.
Like, as far, I'm not a licensed lawyer, right? And I'm sure they could jeopardize their agreement, right, in some way. But I think that probably is one of the reasons why they're not putting it out, because they're trying to get these others out before some day. It feels like a deadline push, because it doesn't make smart business sense to say, why am I going to dump 3 or 4 releases in the span of 30 or 45 days on these collectors?
They either want to pay off the license with the product and don't want to lose steam on people buying, because we're buying, and they don't want to lose the steam on that. And there might be something in the agreement where, and because of what Fanatics might have paid or whoever paid for this license, there might be like, hey, at the time we have this for X time, we want to be the only ones showing this time period.
Well, there was a time when we were saying, hey, they're gonna play catch up. We talked about that.
We did.
We're gonna see a flood of product. We're gonna see a catch up. We feel caught up.
I feel way caught up. I'm good. Someone asked me actually too, well, isn't that because of the pandemic they're rushing? If it's because of the pandemic, that is a crazy amount of things.
I still have not sorted my Fleer Ultra Midnight Suns.
No one sorted anything. I'm drowning over here. It's crazy.
I have sorted my Magic cards. All right, what comments next?
All right, let's keep going. It's what the community
is. Put Jason's on the screen. It's one of the most recent ones.
Okay, scroll down here. You see it?
Just scrolled off the top. You'll have to go up a little. Jason Christner.
I know my Marvel card sketch offers have dried up. I normally have 3 or 4 sets in the pipeline. That has gone cold.
That's a great
That's
one.
what I'm seeing on the collector side as well.
That's a huge clue, guys.
That's a major clue.
It's hard to read that any other way because the artists know first.
And here's another one. Mark, like 2-1 above it. Mark was like, I was in a Fanatics live break where a breaker said the same thing about
Yeah, and
Fanatics.
he was responding to me saying I overheard a
Yeah.
breaker. And these are sports card breakers. These are not Marvel people.
Our buddy.
Guys, I just got a text from someone at Fanatics. They want to come live. So let me go switch to them. I'll be right back. Let me take care of this.
I don't even want. I have
You know
no
it's
idea,
coming.
guys. This is going to be no matter what. This is going to be good.
Yeah, no matter what, it's gonna be good, whether it's real or not.
It may
it's
be a
gonna
really
awesome.
bad good. It may be a really good.
Yes.
It's going to be good.
We have the license.
That's why he
It's
goes
done.
by sketch card. That was sketch card fanatics, everybody.
How can you argue that?
Wow. You got what
That was crazy.
Breaking news. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Wow. A frog
That's
has
amazing.
spoken.
Your internet is so fast. That was like a whole different place. That was such a good
I
connection.
know, right?
Fanatic
That's great.
frog. Coming
I hope they
live.
don't get in trouble at work. That was a big secret. Yeah. That was so good. Oh, I'm so happy that happened. Duke LSS, our buddy, he says, I also saw the writing on the wall about 7 months ago. You're not wrong. This has been that. Hey.
Breaking news. There's aliens.
Oh my God. I love this, man.
That's going to be one of the new tops parallels. It's going to be called aliens.
Aliens. Okay, so we got a good list of different brands that Topps owns here. Chrome Finest, Museum, Archives, Tribute, Allen and Ginter, Transcendent, Sterling. So many brands they could do would be great. Yeah, I'd love to see a flawless Marvel set. Love to see something crazy like that.
Oh, here it is.
That's a good one.
Cosmic characters, Marvel Galaxy.
That's a good one. That's a nice way to transition that. That's not bad at all, actually. I'm in for that. Oh, damn. Wait a minute. We've been wrong all along. We forgot the most important and beloved card company, Perna Studios. He says he bought it. He says it's a done deal.
Hey, Perna, are you hiring?
Yeah, see, Perna better not leave us out of the loop on that. I'd be hurt, Tony. I'd cry at night. Like, I would feel very betrayed on that one. That's
sure.
Great. That would be actually really fun. A Perna Studio Marvel thing.
Matt could be over the artist, the director of art. You could be over like the history and structure of the set, and I'll be over public relations.
I think that's a done deal. At this point, I'm about to call Marvel ourselves. Justin, I have magic ready to ship for you. Good. Breaking news, all EPAC sketches to be forcibly flushed out of the ComC for 99-cent auctions. That's amazing, Free. That's amazing.
Did y'all see Bella Ranchin's art that she did for Topps?
On Topps Collect?
Oh, I know Matt did because he owns the piece now.
I thought that was the one.
I picked up a few, yes.
Beautiful stuff.
Great.
Beautiful stuff. Love to see that on a physical card.
I know. Well, I'm excited if this rumor is true that perhaps that will allow them to print those cards.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because they have a collector base already, like gushing to get their digital collection in a physical form.
100%. It's gonna. I'm waiting for Marvel Snap, but I know they don't own that. But I'm waiting for a lot. I think we're gonna see things in 2025 that are gonna surprise us. I think we'll see Snap. I think we'll see Topps Collect. I think we'll see a few things.
Extreme Motor says they would be buying Topps. Believes that they're gonna have better quality control. I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah,
it's been a little hit and miss, with Upper Deck recently. They've had some good quality control and some other not so good.
It's a shame. I wish it would just be consistent. I think consistent is the most important thing.
Fanatics also has stores already set up and can drive traffic to those stores, like lids, to get more traffic. What I would be surprised to see, and also you're way more in tune to what Topps already owns. I would be surprised to see an EPAC at all with Tops because they were going to want to drive so much product through breakers.
I think you're right. I think we just had this conversation. Funny enough, I was
Mhm.
talking to Matt about this, but I definitely don't think EPAC would be a thing for them unless they do something integrating their live breaks with the Fanatics Collect site that they just launched. But I 100% believe that they want their stores to have. You know what they need to do is that they would have to put a Fanatics shop or some kind of kiosk not only in the stadiums that they have them in where they sell their merch and stuff, but they'd have to have some kind of like pop-up stands maybe around when the movies are released. You know what I mean? Like have Deadpool Wolverine cards ready to go. You know what I mean? Something of that aspect there, or pop-up shops and comic book shops. You know what I mean? Like there has to be that kind of integration. And because they understand how to run those storefronts, I could see things being more accessible to us because they have that knowledge already. It'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, Derpa is speaking to it here. It says Fanatics also produces so much clothing as well. You can see Marvel character jerseys along with hats and other merch. And I think what he's saying is like with the Marvel card art.
I
So
want all
it's
that.
an extension. We've
That
talked
has
about
to happen. That has to happen. Like we need the apparel, we need binders, we need checklists, we need. There's just a lot of great things that can start happening here.
it. Hopefully, Tops Fanatics will be doing better QA quality assurance, quality control, and changing out cutting blades more often than once a decade. You say
Yeah,
that, but then it makes your PSA 10 more valuable.
Platinum's grading in tens quite a bit.
Yeah.
It
I
feels
don't know
like.
what. Yeah, I mean, I say a lot. We see the tens. People don't show off the
Right,
logo. You know,
100%. You never know true. You have to look at a pop report and really understand what you're looking at to make assessments that large. 1000%. I don't think cards ever come out in a 10, and I think you get cards that come close and they get a 10 and whatever all that stuff is. But I think two major things for me, that Upper Deck is changing. I mean, I give Upper Deck a lot of credit and I respect them and I like them a lot. They put the gallery prints out there. They put the artists' names on the cards. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They added a lot of features that we had real issues with in X-Men Metal. And when they were able to make those adjustments and changes, because they're usually a
yeah.
couple of years out, they made them. And I will say they're better for it.
Mhm.
And I think the only couple things that are lacking now is really the reprinting of the same art. They need to keep an archive.
Mhm.
They really should have an archive or a binder there, and they really should have someone specifically doing Marvel cards and not a shared duty where someone's doing Marvel cards and sports. They're two different brands. They need to be treated as such. And I hope Fanatics, if they do get this license, kind of understand that and they start looking at Star Wars differently because Star Wars right now is hurt
Yeah.
in the hobby.
I heard something today, and this is what it's reminding me of. It's like when Fox started making X-Men movies, they banned comic books from the set,
Why?
and then they made, you know, the first one was, but we all were just so geeking out of the, seeing X-Men on the screen. But
Yeah.
by the time they got to 3, it was terrible because they didn't understand the story and how to tell it at that length, right? And Kevin Feige was a part of that, and he was sneaking in comic books and reading them privately. And so when he then got his chance to make Marvel movies, he did a much better job because he understood comics. And so if Fanatics does get the license, to your point, I hope they don't just take someone who's had a lot of success of structuring the sports product and try to do that without getting to know.
It didn't work for their Star Wars brand. It just
Mhm.
didn't. We know it, and I'll be the one to say it on here. And
Mhm.
I'm making a resolution to be.
You're doing so. You made it 49
I,
minutes.
I did really well. You have to
I'm
admit. We
very
talked
proud of
about
you.
it. I did really, really well. I'm just gonna say this. I'm keeping it light. This
Yeah.
is fun. Damn
No,
it,
say
man.
it, dude.
I'm trying really hard. Star Wars Galaxy has taken a couple of missteps in terms of understanding its own history and its own design in that history. When you design cards, you have to incorporate the history of that IP, right? It can't just be a design that's been molded from something else. And I think that's always a little bit of a mistake when people do that. And I'm hearing great things about future sets from Fanatics for their Tops brand because
Right.
it is growing pains and they are understanding their audiences are different while incorporating new audiences as well.
Sports has an advantage because they get a new story to tell every year, a new set of players, a new winner, a new champion, a new superstar arises, right? Like a new spec, because they do a lot of that in sports, obviously. And Star Wars is so tied to the how well the movies are doing that, and then obviously you have the collectors who just want to stay in the first 6 movies, so to speak, and that creates its own struggles. And Marvel, I don't know if we figured out how to kind of continually evolve because we love what we love because we're 35 to 45 years old, and I am curious as we continue to move into the future, how will Marvel cards continue to kind of push forward, even though we don't have that new steady kind of flow of material to pull from outside the comics. But most of us are not reading comics as Marvel card collectors.
But that doesn't matter because
Mhm.
Marvel card collectors have never, the majority of us, and I've heard this in a lot of interviews, and I hope I'm not speaking for everyone's
I want to hear from
experience
you.
here, but I didn't learn Marvel through comic books. I learned Marvel through cards, period. And I
Mhm.
think I'm not in the minority on that. I was 100% that kid. I was born in 85. I was that kid that had my first Marvel card before I had my first comic book. And reading on the back and looking at the stats and finding my Silver Surfer 92 Marvel Universe Series 3 card for the first time, boom. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
it. That was it for me. And in terms of talking on, and I'll make this short because I know I'm talking a lot.
We got to
In
answer
terms,
John's question.
what's the T? Who am I?
John Grillo, artist for Marvel trading cards. He's in Fleer Ultra Wolverine.
That's so
And
good.
hey, John, you tell us.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're just reading the tea leaves. Give us something else to read.
Yeah, John, you let us know. I will say this. You mentioned earlier about that there's new crops of players, new stats, new games, new results being made in sports. So it's a bit easier to bring something new to the table every year with sports cards. I honestly think that is a misconception that Marvel is not forever evolving and changing. And I think that goes the same with Star Wars.
Mhm.
When you look at these products, if you know what they are and you're in touch with them, you're not always just referencing the same 3 stories, Secret Wars, Night of the Sentinels, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, for example, with Marvel, Midnight Suns really did something interesting. It was very thematically connected, and someone knew what they were doing. They
Mhm.
understood what what the stories were at their core, and they understood how to devise a set out of that. That was very smart in the
Yeah.
way they understood how to make that thematic set make sense. Now, I will say this. Obviously, the risk is how many people know Midnight Suns? That's a really
Yeah.
risky
Look,
set to
leading
put.
up to Midnight Suns, there was very little fanfare. The
Right.
product actually delivered beyond expectations. We watched people
It's
who
one of the
did the
best things they've put out in years.
correct.
And I will say though, because the work was done in there, because the themes were so ingrained, because someone sat there and did the research, people became fans.
Yeah.
That's built the audience. The
And
audience
it
didn't
also
already have
allows
to be
it
built
allowed
in.
other collectors, I think, to shine too because they did understand it, and I think that's important.
And they picked out comic cuts, they picked out certain inserts, they looked at certain characters like, no, you guys don't like. If I had Ryder on here, I guarantee you I have a list of characters that are so integral to the Blade movie that's coming out, to
Right.
other things that are coming out, and he would be like, this character is going to appear and be a badass
By the way,
immediately.
did y'all know Ryan Reynolds was in Blade?
Yes, of course, Blade
I
3.
did not realize that.
So hell yeah,
It's
hell
crazy.
yeah, he was great. Yeah. Well, the
No,
joke
I
was
think
with Ryan Reynolds is that everyone always thought he'd be the perfect Deadpool. That's why he became Deadpool, is because like the rumor, like I don't know if you guys remember, this is super dorky, but remember the magazines like Cool News or like, oh, there was these magazines, it's not Cool News, it was something else, but they would put pictures of the Wizard. I'm an idiot. They would put a picture of the
I love
actor.
Heard of Wizard.
You've heard of Wizard just a little bit. They would put the picture of the actor. Like, wouldn't it be cool if this person played
Yes,
this
yeah,
character?
yeah. Because
He was
back then
in
it was
there.
like the idea of having these movies was like never going to happen. So we just had to play.
Right.
It was like comic castings.
If Manu was
And you
here,
say that you'd be like Van Wilder for Deadpool? What?
no, there's an issue out there because I remember reading as a kid. So it has to be between 94 and 98 where there was an issue, or maybe it was early 2000s when the X-Men movie was coming out. There's a little article there with Ryan's picture next to the possibility of him playing Deadpool. I know there is. I remember seeing it. And I'm sure someone who knows it better than me will remember. But yeah, that was where it all came from. Cool.
Your comment about Midnight Suns
Mm-hmm.
kind of leads me to a wish list for Fanatics, which is that I'm sure they'll have a brand manager role, if not a role, then someone in charge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the key for this is to not have a Marvel brand manager, but very specifically a Marvel card brand manager.
Right.
Someone who understands the merger of those two, that Venn diagram, and how it's important. And I think the Midnight Suns did it. I think when we see, Upper Deck, it's like there's different people. Like some people take the time to make the what if covers just absolutely perfect. Some people take the time to get the perfect comic cuts, but it seems very hit or miss. So to have one person who's responsible for making sure that hits every time will be key.
And have a set of standards, right? I think that's what's important. When you come into a set or you come into one of these positions, you have to say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to have a small team, but that team needs to be here because, I have this great, I remember this, this is such a weird story, but it will be fast.
Yeah.
I was graduating from college and I just got into a master's and I was moving out for the first time and I had saved a poster and it's from 1985. And it's a Silver Surfer vintage poster. They're like $300. They're not able to be replaced. And it's Galactus holding out his hand and Surfer's in the middle. And it's a Jim Lee illustration that glows in the dark.
Wow.
I saved this thing for like 7 years, guys. 7 years. I moved out. I packed it really nice. I made sure it didn't get hurt in the move. I got into the program. I saved up a little money. And I went to go get this thing framed. They framed it and they pasted it on the back of the board and messed it up and put bubbles in it and didn't take it serious. I came over there. They wanted to charge me $400. I looked at it, and they're like, we're sorry about the bubbles and the creases. We tried to go to the comic book store down the street to get a replacement, but we couldn't find it. I was like, your mistake was that you looked at this and saw comic books and you didn't take it serious. I still can't find that poster rolled in plastic. It doesn't exist. If you see it now, it's creased up because it was in stores. They don't understand. And that isn't, in a sense, the issue here.
Yeah.
Right? You need someone that understands that these things need to have.
And the comic cuts is a really good example. Like, not every issue can get 40 cuts.
Yep.
Like, some issues need to have 18, and that's it.
And that's it, or not repeated many times. Like, if you have an issue coming out in cuts, you say, you know what? We're going to retire this comic book for 2 years or 4 sets, and then it comes back, and that needs to be managed because otherwise I have a running list of every time they use comic cuts because it was a huge conversation. People like, oh, they're everywhere. And I was like, there's only been a few issues actually repeated at this point, but they're going to start getting repeated, and people need to, someone who's working at that company should take the time to care. And I think that's my hope, my bigger hope.
Right. And so that's the opportunity. The risk is, all right, I've been in corporations all my life, so I look at Fanatics. They are huge. The risk is that it's just about the bottom line for them, and a brand manager to appease the hardcore fans doesn't seem like a great expense, right? So it really depends how they approach this.
Right. Or they'll just end up being the pop culture manager and they'll have too much to juggle.
Right. They'll be doing the same person who does Star Wars will now have to split their job and do Marvel too. And then, that would be the worst.
They can be on the same hallway, but not in the same room.
If anything shows you how these pieces are remembered when people care. I remember when I interviewed Bob Budiansky and Ken Benoff, who were the creators of all of our favorite sets. They were the Marvel directors, right? They worked in the Marvel bullpen. 1990 Marvel Universe, the
Yeah.
start of it all, really, of original art, really the intention to make cards was Marvel Universe. I know they existed in 66 and 84 with comic individuals, blah, blah, blah. But 1990 Marvel Universe was really the set that started this. When I interviewed them, they knew it all. They had it by heart. They understood who to go to for X character. That's why Ron Lim has Surfer cards back in the 90s, because he was sitting right in the bullpen and they could walk up to be like, hey, you're working on the set. Here you go. That was key.
Yeah.
That was the smart move, because not only did they understand the comic books, but they understand that the longevity of what they were doing would be remembered because of the care they put into it. And seeing those pins from New York Comic Con and how everyone ran to get them, and it wasn't just because it was exclusive of Marvel, but you guys remember, right, when I did the booth for the CGC thing and we put original art there? It was like the first time we really started doing all that together.
It was a mini LAX.
Yeah, it was the first time we really kind of did it. You remember everyone seeing you guys and saying and knowing you guys from the streams, and then people who didn't know cards were like, "Whoa, is that?"
Mm-hmm.
It was magical. It was great. People love this stuff. You know, they remembered. They took it with them.
Fausto. So
Yes.
we asked John, "What are you working on?" This was his response.
We might ask him for clarification. I'm not sure.
Yeah, John, give us some clarification.
If they did an homage set,
is it serious? What's going on?
If they did an homage set to that, or maybe this is the first series of Marvel from Fanatics. Wow, that's a big deal.
Well, let's not start that rumor until we get some clarification.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't know. What did I say? What?
We don't want to put anyone in the spotlight.
Did you hear something? What was that?
John, slide them in my DMs.
Let me get the frog back and ask him.
Let's see what Fanatics has to say to that.
Yeah,
exactly. Deny.
That's interesting, John.
That is interesting. So series 1 is 90MU. Everybody, that's what I read.
That's what we read, because we know it might just be the first series of Marvel.
We've seen 90MU homages, but they've been with published art put on it. Whether it's
retro
comic book, whether it's what if the Disney Plus series, but we have not. I know but like the Marvel Series 1 was original art, and so if they're doing a new original art Marvel Series 1, that would be a really big deal.
I think that would be lovely. That'd be good stuff.
That would be really cool.
That'd be cool, man. That would be cool. I don't know. It's gonna be a fun. It feels like it's shaping up to be a really busy half end of 2024 for all the sets we'll be catching up on and all the sets that will be rushed out the door. It feels like. But when 2025 hits and when all this stuff seems to start coming into fruition, it's going to be a year. It's going to be a year for sure.
Yeah. And look, I love that you say that, because it's been a wild ride for the last 6
months. I love it. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, and if you go back to August of last year, it's been a wild year. Oh, gosh. For you, it's been... I don't even know how you've done it, Fausto, because it really...
I don't know how any of you guys have done it. We've been on this. We've been running. I mean, OAX, everything we've been doing, the sets, like the content, like collecting in general has just shaped everything. Like when we did that, it's really been... there's been a lot happening.
Well, and the three of us have our different ways of like gauging the temperature of the hobby. Mine is obviously the channel. Right, the YouTube channel. I generally average about 45,000 views a month. And as of right now, for the last month, let's see here, we're sitting at 89,000 views. Hold on, we can't see that. Fix that brightness.
So more people coming in.
89,000 views for the month. 28 days is what they do that over.
Wow.
And the Fleer Ultra Wolverine first look video is at 27,000 views, and it's like 2.5 weeks old. And the comments that I'm getting are people who are not going, "Hey, what's the best investment I should buy in? What's the best? It's what size binder should I get? What size sleeve?
Yep.
It's very different. We're talking about coming in and just wanting to collect. And that to me is talking about context clues, foreshadowing. That happening with the potential for this big earth shattering news that could drop that Fanatics has taken over and what eyes that would bring in, coupled with Magic the Gathering Marvel. I think here's what I want the collectors who are already collecting to hear. Your collection's better than you think. What you
That I
have
will
now,
say.
what you have now, there's a good chance, not too far in the future, there's going to be a lot of people wish they had it.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, 100%. And I think so many good points. It really, it's true. Like, I think people need to start taking a step back, seeing what they have, and look at the landscape and very much understand that things are going to change. I think we talk about this in waves. We've talked about this in different moves. So that was my response to what I'm working on. Marvel S1 was an intro to comics.
All right. But
Damn
you
it,
gave
John.
us a great idea for a trading
A
card.
great
And
idea.
we'll forever give you credit for that.
If Fanatics didn't take that, then that's on them, because that was a beautiful moment where all of our eyes lit up.
But he doesn't have well, let me not speak for him. Well, we were responding to that as if there was a new set out there that's happening, and that's not the case.
No. And it is, even though it does prove the great point, though, it was the Marvel cards that got him into the comic books, and he's a major artist. Like, it's a big deal. It's I've heard this story from many people. This is very real. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think I think what's really lovely about all of this, and someone asked this earlier, I think it was Perna, talking about, is this exciting or overwhelming? The way to look at this, and the way I'm treating this, not telling anybody how to look at this, however you want to look at this is how you want to look at this. This is about to be exciting and fun. And the moment you feel overwhelmed, you take a step back and you take stock in what you have. See how people are pricing things. See how people are treating these cards. People treat them like gold, then don't give your stuff away, or just make a small group of friends. That's what I do. I have a small group of friends that if they want something, they need it, I don't look at comps, and that's it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if, someone outside of that, then you do how you're going to do with your pricing. Just remember, this is the more attention the hobby gets, and now with these beautiful comments, this is what I really want to talk about, was the comments that you're now getting, Justin. Binder nights on Last Pack Magic, right?
Yep.
Trade night. All these great shows are coming out now that are not talking about value, and there's nothing wrong with value, but they're talking about, how do I build this collection? What's my new set goals? What's the new character I'm going to get? We had this kind of wave of big cards, and it kind of like the advertisement for Marvel happened, right? All these big collectors, it was in the news, all these big prices, yada, 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 which is all good stuff, advertising this hobby. And now that people are here and have taken in a lot of this hobby, they're like, well, I'm collecting this. So I need to know binder. I need to know what's a good character. How do I find this set as opposed to this set? Where do I buy? And that's what we've been hoping for so long now, are those questions and those interests. So it's just great to hear.
And that's the opportunity for Fanatics, right? That they can appeal to the collector who, and again, there's all these different ways to define it, but I would just say a collector is someone who loves the IP and the cards first and foremost, right? Profit is nice and certainly is part of the equation, but it's not the primary motivator, right? As opposed to someone who's more of a consumer or even an investor, where profit has more of an importance on the ranking. And again, we need every type in the hobby, so there is nothing wrong with either of them. You need that for an ecosystem. But I think a lot of what Norton, especially you and I, talk about is catering more towards the collector who has that long-term love of the property and really just wants to focus on the enjoyment versus the business aspect of it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I agree.
All right, I've got to answer this question for Derpa. So, Unbound is an Upper Deck e-pack release of a physical card. Don't be confused; it's not digital. And it's a limited release. Basically, it comes out for a day. Some stay longer for a week, but basically, it's like a shoe drop. Like you buy it till it sells out, right? I now am the owner of 28 base, numbered to 999, 24 rainbows, 9 canvases, and 1 auto. No plates, no sketch.
That was the ratio? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ouch, sorry.
Now, I did have some help from Kane, but
Do you have
between
any
the two
leads
of
on the
us.
sketch? I assume you're after the sketch.
Yes, I have a price.
Okay.
I know who pulled it, so that's what makes me laugh so hard.
It has a 3 and a 5 in it.
And I'm assuming that's to the left of the decimal.
Far left.
Way to the left of the
Way to
decimal.
the left.
I was so my air conditioning has been out for most of the day and yesterday, so I got late to the
Yeah,
game
he
with
wants
all
an
that.
air conditioner for it.
Yeah, pretty much. I didn't even realize it was magic, and then I saw the image and I was like, "Oh, poor Justin." And then I saw all the things I've missed throughout the day, and I was like, "Oh my God, poor Justin, poor Justin, poor Justin." It was just been one landslide after another. I felt so bad.
But it's all right. It's a beautiful piece of art. Thank you, Fred Niam, for creating it.
That is the best part.
She's holding Limbo back. All the demons are trying to get out, and she pays them no mind because she is the ruler. No one can touch her there, and it's really cool. Sketch is beautiful, and you never know. It may end up in the collection one day. I have bought from Sketch Opulence before, so it is possible.
100%, and he has great stuff, and great, and he knows the value of his stuff, and he appreciates his stuff, and he's been here for a long time.
Here, a lot of mad respect for him. Let me tell you why.
Yeah, I agree.
He spends money, and it's work to sell what he does. Okay, and he spends it before he knows he's going to get it back. Okay, and then he prices it, and he waits for the market to come to him.
He gets a bad rep. I've met Jeff before. He's a great guy. I really like him. I mean, you nailed it, right? He's a businessman, and we need that.
That's honest.
That volume of product. So good for him.
Yep, it's his call.
I've gotten, honestly, in some way, and this has just been my experience. Mm-hmm. At least, I bought surfers from him at really high prices, and I've traded really high to get cards from him. I really have. It's inevitable.
You know what he's not doing? Oh Lord, help me say this well. He's not pretend to be your friend collector to get something cheap off of you and then sell it and then try to sell
what it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. He wants stuff.
He is what he
pays.
He's just straight 100%. Up about it.
And I honestly, and that's what I was gonna say. There's been surfer cards where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to pay up because he got it. But at the same token, I'm like, you know what though? If I am the buyer for this, at least I know I'm gonna get it because I'm willing to put it up. And I think
it can be bought. Like
that's
no game.
That I kind of like that. As much as I'm depressed about having to spend the money,
yes.
But at some way, and it's weird too because Platinum really taught me that. It really solidified that rule for me. I realized I was like, you know what? If I wanted this thing and it ended up being this big price, it can't be in my back of my head. I was like, that ain't worth that. I can buy this for this, or and how I used to think about it and all that stuff. And now I'm more on the lines because the hobby's grown, the audience has grown, the type of people I've dealt with grows, and apparently you and Lewis think Surfer's a top 10 character, which I'll never forgive you for. but now I understand, in some ways, like, well, there's the card. I turned down 3 1-of-1s from Platinum now. 3. Who thought I ever turned down 3 1-of-1 cards? And I've turned them all down. And you know what? There's been no regret about it because I came to the realization. I was like, you know what? If it was really important to me, I'd make it work. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes it's not able to. But it is an interesting lesson that I've had to learn this year, which is a good one.
Here's what I appreciate about Sketchopolis is he has as much belief, and and this is me reading his price. Like he believes he knows where the hobby should be. He believes he knows. He's like, if this stuff over here is selling for this, and this stuff over here is selling for this, then this should be selling for this. And he just says, okay, come get it.
I don't know how we got on this, but what I'll say
I don't know how we got on this.
That's exactly it, because I bought a ton of sketches. Like a good chunk of my collection came from Jeff.
Yeah.
And I paid what a lot of people said were high prices. They probably were high prices back then, but they're considered bargain prices now for those cards.
Yeah. But he had a belief that they were going to get there.
Yep. And the market caught up to him and surpassed him in some cases. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Fanatics, right?
Fanatics.
So,
yeah.
Yes, chat. Yay. Okay, back to Fanatics.
Well, this has been a great chat.
Yeah.
We're about 30 minutes over where we thought we were going to be, but I think it was really helpful. I don't want to leave if there's anything else we need to add. If there's just a burning question that we need to get to.
No, I mean it'll be interesting to see if confirmation comes. But other than my source who seemed to, confirm it. So I mean, you never trust a guy to ask though.
Froggy Fanatic or Fanatic Frog.
Fanatic Frog. Froggy Fanatics. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, just to recap is, what we know and what we don't know, what we're hearing from rumors, just points to a change. Is it happening? Has it happened? Will it be Fanatics? We don't know. But all that's to say is, I think it's important to know that where the hobby's headed, I think is bright. It's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride, I think, regardless. And I think that, based on what we're seeing, where things are headed, if you've been in the hobby, you have a collection put together, it's probably a pretty nice collection. You should be really grateful for it.
Should be really proud. It's been a bumpy ride now. It gets bumpier now, but at this point you really should take stock and be happy. Plus, stay close to your friends, man. Yeah. All the people you've made friends with, I'm telling you, this hobby really could have gotten to me like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And if it hasn't been for these guys and other of you out there who know who you are, I don't think I'd still be hanging around. So stick close to your friends and the community you're building.
Good word, man. Love that. Definitely. Matt, anything before we go? Wait, Matt, Whatnot tomorrow night. Platinum Singles going up at what time?
8 p.m. Eastern, yes.
8 p.m. I almost guessed it. Eastern
You
time.
remembered it. I didn't. How about that?
Telling you, I know Matt. He gives stuff away, so you're gonna have to be there. If you missed out on opening boxes, or you don't want to be gambling about it, he'll have individual cards up. Go check it out. 8 o'clock Eastern time on Whatnot.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
sweet. Go check it out.
All right, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. We got up to 90 people here. Really appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you follow both of these guys. We just, on their channels, we got, I know it says Sketch Card Fanatics, but that is really Froggy Fanatics. I knew it was coming. There he is. Also known as OCD Sketch Cards. And then we have our friend Fausto Barrio Nuevo, the one and only Norn Rad. Make sure you follow him, Sketch Card Hive, YouTube. You know me. Do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button on all three channels. Spidey hit the like button on all three. But as always, I hope you have a marvelous day.